It never happens at a good time. The pipe bursts at midnight. The heater quits on the coldest night. Suddenly, you're overwhelmed. That's when HomeServe is here. For $4.99 a month, you're never alone. Just call their 24/7 hotline and a local pro is on the way. Trusted by millions, HomeServe delivers peace of mind when you need it most. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. That's homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
What can you learn from Beale Street, the melting pot of music? Stay tuned and find out.
Welcome. Okay, here's the question. Serious? How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph? Come on. Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it up. What is up? What is up? What is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to your weekly dose of Beale Street to Hollywood learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman. And you? Well, that, my friend, is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur, or one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, and just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And man, do we have a cool-ass episode for you today. Today, Diane Steinberg herself is going to be sharing so many amazing stories and lessons from not just her life, from the lives of her family and the influencers from across multiple generations, teaching lessons like learning from Alleyways, becoming an expert in your craft, the importance of getting input from others, and so much more. Plus, I'm going to let you in on a sneak peek on next week's interview episode guest who is going to help us answer this simple question. Who is really the ultimate law enforcement authority in each state? Oh, yeah, right? And as per usual, the Dark Horse Corrals are chock full of personal, business, and marketing gold spilling from every corner of the Dark Horse Entrepreneur HQ. So let's get to the starting gates and go. Alrighty, my Dark Horse friends and family, today's guest is none other than Diane Steinberg, aka Diane Steinberg Lewis. Now, Diane is a recording artist. She's a singer and songwriter, a pianist, producer, and arranger. She's a graduate of Michigan Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Diane began her career as a choir director and an accompanist in Battle Creek Central High School, but soon went on to record with Atlantic Records, ABC Records. She even co-starred as Lucy with Peter Frampton in the Bee Gees. She was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds in RSO's Universal Studios movie Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yeah, I just dated myself because that's like circa 1978. Now, Diane has recorded multiple albums. She even recorded a gospel album with World Records and Rejoice label. Soon after, she went on to raise her family with her husband, Kenny Lee Lewis from the Steve Miller Band. All that said, Diane is a teacher that entertains and an entertainer that teaches. All right, Diane, you know what? I've been so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I was lucky enough, as we were just chatting about, to interview your husband not too long ago. And for those that don't know, Diane Steinberg Lewis is married to the guitarist of the Steve Miller Band, Kenny Lee Lewis, who was a great conversation and a great interview. Be sure you go check that out. But we're not here to talk about Kenny today. Right?
Well, we're here to end up talking about him a little bit.
Well, I'm sure he'll sneak in there. He's a part of your life, right?
Yeah,
but we're here to listen to what all is going on or has happened in Diane's life. So I'm gonna shut up for a few minutes, and I'm gonna let you tell your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs that brought you to where you are and why you love doing what you've done so much.
Well, I've sent you lots of pictures, which of course you're going to
be sharing. Absolutely.
Nice montage together. And, but there was no way for me not to be in music because my dad was an orchestra leader and his father was a keyboard player. In fact, my grandfather, Milton Steinberg, was born on Beale Street, and there was no way for him not to be absorbed in everything that Beale Street was. He was an illegitimate son of Nanny Taylor, who was Nanny Gates, and a German guy by the name of, we're still kind of going through some Ancestry.com stuff about that, but we know, but and he was from Germany. And there's a mix up in the story about my grandfather. I don't know if it was his grandfather or his father that wanted to take him to Arkansas and raise him as a Jew, but he was born on Beale Street, and he stayed with his mama and his grandmama. So and I think he had a Baptist background, but he went at 10 years old working at Pong's Laundry, which was also on Beale Street. I mean, there was Lansky Brothers. You know who Lansky Brothers is, right?
No.
Come on. You know those suits that Elvis Presley used to wear?
Yes. Okay, that's right.
Baby, that is Lansky Brothers. And they are still in business today and at the Peabody Hotel. So if you ever go to the Peabody Hotel, you got to go in the Lansky Brothers. But all the blues and jazz guys down there used to wear Lansky Brothers suits. They didn't dress like the, casual.
Right.
It was head to toe for them, spick and span and sharp as a tack. So Elvis was very influenced by that bunch. And I'm getting out of the sequence of the generation right now.
Sure.
But that would have been my dad's generation. And Elvis was younger than my dad. But let me back up to Milton again. As he came up on Beale Street, he, at 10 years old, was working at Pong's Laundry because his mother and his grandmother were upstairs. But, the music that was happening there, I don't have to tell you, we know it was the place where they say it was the birth of the blues, but actually the birth of rock and roll. But he found his way at 21 years old, and those years leading up to 21 years old, playing piano at the Pee Wee's Saloon. Pee Wee was an Italian immigrant who he was actually a hobo, jumped off the train and tried to clean up down at the Mississippi River. He only had a few nickels in his pocket, and one of the black guys came down from Beale Street and saw him, and he wasn't discriminated against because of his accent, because black folks just, especially during that time, you had an accent, they didn't care. Come on, let's take you up to Beale Street.
Right.
And he was like tattered and torn and everything. But he took those few nickels he had, and my brother, whoever he was, taught him. This is in his book now. Yeah, I'm telling you right out of the book, if you haven't read about W.C. Handy. But took him up to Beale Street and learned how to gamble. And so he gambled his way up to a fruit stand, gambled his way into a new suit, gambled his way up to a store, brought his family from Italy, had Pee Wee's Market, and then he had the saloon. And Pee Wee's Saloon is where all of the keyboard players and the musicians used to hang out. Every keyboard player, if they were from New Orleans, they had to come through Memphis. Memphis.
Right.
You know how. So... yeah, I know because you know music, right? You're guitar player, right?
And for just briefly, for those that are hearing this that don't know, Beale Street, and you alluded to this, is like the birthplace of the blues, right? And as we all know, and we're very aware, blues and country is kind of that the jump off point for rock and roll as we know it today. So when we're talking about music incarnate, just being born and evolving over time. And Beale Street was where it was happening.
Yeah, it was born down there. And when W.C. Handy finally got to Memphis, Tennessee, and he heard my grandfather over there playing the piano, as he heard lots, but he asked him to go out on the road with him after he heard him play. But I got to tell you a little bit more about Pee Wee's Saloon, because all the musicians used to go there and they'd wait for somebody to give them a call, or they find out, hey, they need a saxophone player at so-and-so, but everybody would go there. And of course, I guess they spent their money before they even had the gig, gambling and everything.
Right.
But W.C. Handy, because he was a trained educated musician. He knew how to read. He knew how to write scores and everything. So he would go down into the alleyways and listen to the people who on their homemade guitars are, I mean, we see today when we go to the NAM, the National Association of Music Merchants, there we will go to another building. Of course, we didn't go last year because of the pandemic, but you can go and see guitars made from cigar boxes, from oil cans, when you got to make music, you're going to make it any way you can,
right?
But he would go in the alleyways and he would hear them and he would write down their music, bring the little hooch and everything and write down their music so that he could preserve it for them because, they didn't have tape recorders. And I don't think, maybe they didn't have talkies then. That's for sure.
Correct.
So anyway, my grandfather came up around all of those people and the filtering of all the musicians that passed through. And so when he met my grandmother, Ida Fox, she was a widow of a Klauston. And they were millionaires. And they're in a book called Millionaires of People of Color. Mm-hmm. But he saw her. And he said, that's going to be my wife. And I think he bet on it, and it came to be. So he had 10 more kids with her, most of them boys. So you had my grandmother, Ida Fox Steinberg, with 15 kids. And needless to say, she died pretty early. She died when I was born. But most of the boys in that family and two of the girls, one in particular, Nan, my Aunt Nan, was the oldest of the Steinberg children. And she was a singer. And she sang with Bunny Berrigan. They got her Bunny Berrigan. And I should have written down the names of the band that picked her up to go out on the road. But she ended up with Fats Waller. So the boys were coming up and they wanted, there was music in the house because Grandpa still played the piano. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't too long with W.C. Handy, I have to add, because he didn't read. And I had always heard that the rag piano players always played the black keys. That's pretty interesting for my grandfather to also be on Beale Street. But so the boys, my father played trumpet. And he taught his brothers how to play. And so we had Uncle Morris, who played saxophone. We had Uncle Wilbur, who did end up playing the bass also, but he was the singer in the family. And then we had my father, Luther Steinberg, who was recorded by Sam Phillips and Leonard Chess. They changed his name, of course. They didn't abide by the Steinberg. They wanted Lou Sargent. So he was Lou Sargent, and they went into the studio with the Newborn family, and my Uncle Morris was on that. And my daddy was a dyed-in-the-wool jazz man. And he told me, he says, you know what, I walked out of that session, and, they had a Mid-South hit, and so they went and promoted that. But he said, after that, I didn't look back. I mean, and Elvis had opened up for him on occasion prior to my father recording with Sam Phillips and Leonard Chess. I was shocked to find that out. I mean, I knew Elvis was around, and I knew that Dad was supposed to become what Elvis became, But it was like right in the cracks of when the music was about to change. A lot of jazz musicians didn't really go for the blues, you know.
They were focused on their style.
Well, it might as well be Chopin or something,
right?
So my dad, he would say, "I want you to be a professional musician." Okay, so I had classical piano at my babysitter's father was a minister, so we'd go up the street and. We didn't have a piano in the house. There was only trumpets and bands coming over to the house. So my babysitter, her father was a reverend, and they had a broke down piano, and they were just playing around with it. And one day my dad heard me doing something on the piano. I was 5 years old, and he went, "Whoa, okay, so I guess she's got it, something. So let's get behind it." So I had lessons, and I also had dance lessons and all that. I really wanted to be a dancer. but the music was always there. It was just, I studied it. I put in way more than my 10,000 hours. I wasn't even thinking of 10,000 hours. Kenny told you about the 10,000 hours that a musician should put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that when it's the one thing that you want to do, and it's the first thing on your mind, and the instrument you head for after school, then you're in.
Yeah.
It's you don't even have to debate it. And I'm not saying my mother didn't yell at me to practice, and I had so much native ability that, and I could write songs and make up and improvise,
Nice.
She had to stay on me because sometimes, and I found lots of, I did become a teacher later on after my movie and record career and everything. But I found that the kids that where it comes naturally to you, you're going to have to be careful because you have to guard it. That's very precious. And if you take it for granted and don't look, I'm not saying if you're a prodigy or something like that. Prodigies have to be careful too. I've known a couple of them, and later on in life, it's like child actors.
Yeah.
It's a time where the adults around them have got to be very sensitive to how to bring them along,
right?
Or their heart will be broken later on in some form or fashion, or it'll be difficult for them, or people won't accept them as they make the transition to adulthood. So you really have to nurture these things. They're precious. Should not be taken for granted. And even saying that, all of you club owners out there who paid so much the last year or 3 or 5 or 10 years ago, it's time for musicians to get paid. I mean, they bring you joy. They make the wedding, right?
Amen. I hear you.
They make the radio.
Funny. It's funny you mentioned the don't take it for granted thing. And in the music world, I've known a number of musicians across my time. Yeah. And we started a little garage band in my teenage years, right? Very rock and roll. We're talking about the age of the Whiskey A Go-Go, and Motley Crue was starting to blow up, right? And the drummer from our little band, his mom had a band called Donna Thomas and the Country Fire. And I got to roadie for them for a while. And I wasn't even legal to go into some of the clubs that they're at, but no one asked. But
except like Kenny now. Okay.
But, I got to see some very skilled men and women who had the chops, right? But they took it for granted. They're like, oh, yeah, you know what? I can be high and I can be drunk and I can still perform. And they could.
Yep.
However, to me, that was them taking it for granted, right? It was like, dude, you could do so much more. If I had you just a cup of your skill, right? I'd be on seventh heaven. And like you said, there's some folks that they have that gift, whatever it happens to be, music or writing or art, and they squander it because it's too easy for them.
Well, if they had a cup of the common sense and intuition that you had when you saw that at the time, they might be able to survive some of these things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for people who are out there that don't understand, there's so much. I mean, you go entertainment. Oh, I'm having fun. There's a lot of hours that are put in. There's disciplines that must happen. And for you musicians out there, you see the young musicians nowadays and these people on the internet and all the stuff they're doing, now we don't need a bass player and a keyboard player because you can do it all yourself. And,
right. Yeah.
That can be a problem too, because
right.
is always not the best. Prince used to play all of his own instruments, and Kenny can do it too. But you get to a point where, maybe you need a different point of view on this one. Because it'll work just so long, and now you have to bring in other colors and things that you never thought about.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So it's like I see the function even on my phone. It's like, oh no, we're not doing that. This is my cousin. I was going to show you. I was going to pick it up and say garage band, and it does come in if you want to have a seed of an idea and put it down, And but in the old days, when you had to have a band, there are people who are booking arenas and all they're doing is like this, this,
Yeah.
what was DJ stuff, I got to tell you, I do like it. I'm not old fashioned in any way. I look at anytime a new thing comes in, I'm like right in there and I learned from my dad because as a jazz man, and I'm not saying all jazz men do this, but he was so critical about rock and roll. Oh my God. And then my Uncle Louis, who went on to join Booker T and the MGs and was a founding member of that group with Steve Cropper and Booker T, of course. And oh my God. Oh, I'm definitely, I hear my cousin speaking on the phone, and I keep pushing it over. But what was I saying? My dad was very opinionated about things, and I don't think in art you know your own taste, but I don't think you should be. I think you need to jump into all of it because it's part of the toolbox.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I mean, look, you might not like what it says. I mean, I think Cardi B is a beautiful woman. I don't like her and The Stallion with what they were doing on that last Grammy thing, but I still like the music.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I was lucky enough, growing up, my dad was all about polka and country and western and military songs. You were talking like the Green Beret, right? I don't know if you remember that album when it came out. That album, I think, got played 24/7 for about a year in my house.
You're a polka
oh my
baby.
gosh. And then on the other side, you had my mom, who was all about Elvis and Loretta Lynn and Tammy Wynette, so it was a little more forward. And so I got to hear all this amazing music, which I think was probably great because as I grew up, I kept taking influences from wherever it was, classical music, hip hop music, every once in a while I'll flip on a country and western station just to see what's going on. Okay. Not for me. And then move on. But like you were saying, I think you take it in, right? You take
it in.
I call myself a mood music kind of guy. So whatever mood I'm in, there's music for that mood, right? If I'm in an angry mood, man, I'm going to put on some angry music, right? Some head banging, hard rocking kind of stuff. And if I'm in more mellow, chill, maybe an ethereal mood, maybe some of the old Prince stuff comes into play, right? And, it covers that whole gamut. And I think maybe I'm preaching to the choir here. I think it stimulates something inside of you. Right. That creative flow, that creative connection to whatever it is you believe in. And you're like, now I can do whatever it is I'm setting out to do.
To have a challenge like, that's nothing, I can do that. Well, then go and do it.
Thank you.
Try it out. Put on those shoes, wear that coat, walk around it and go, okay, what would I do? Look, have you seen the commercials recently? Songwriters, you have to really try it out because you don't know what style of music. I mean, I'm hearing commercials and seeing people our age in the commercials like rapping and bopping and whatever and doing the twerk.
Yeah.
Yes, they were twerking. But anyway, but it's like so, and that's the same thing for actors. The more you know how to do, whether it's riding a horse, skating, singing, playing an instrument, you're the perfect person, especially if you can act, that can try out for actually anything. You might have to be in a cowboy movie. You might have to be in a alien movie, which is, hey, me and you, we could do that.
We could do that. Aliens and Cowboys. I've seen that movie.
Oh yeah, me too. But so I was talking about that. I was watching my dad and kind of getting mad, and I was kind of digging Elvis, and you're in the house where your dad with the dark hair, the guy over there now with the dark hair that used to be with the blonde hair, that copied your dad who with the dark hair, and I'm seeing the connections, and you go like other people going like, who knew? but so that's my little story. You can check it out. You can see Elvis with his blonde hair. I got pictures, and I still liked Elvis. There have been some stories, especially coming from down south, because I'm from Memphis and moved to Detroit after that. But, we heard all kinds of things, about things that he supposedly said that were racist and all that. And it's like, I've heard other people said that he didn't say it. And some that said, Colonel Parker said it and said he said it. So, you know what? I'm going to bless everybody right now because I'm still digging the movie. I woke up at 3:00 in the morning and saw clam bake, and I went, "Isn't that an Elvis?" So I turned it on, and I went, "I know he was glad to get out of that format."
Oh, I bet.
So anyway. So I hope I'm not talking too off the wall right now.
No, this is gold. This is gold. I think there's so many nuggets from back behind there. I mean, obviously you've had some pretty significant influences going way back, which is why you wanted to share the stories. It's like, the Beale Street. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, right? That's why I wanted to make sure everyone knew what the importance of Beale Street was in your comeuppance. I mean, you went into a music career and you did the movie Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. And anyone who hasn't seen it, take a moment, go check it out. It's a fun movie. It's super cheesy. It's classic 80s pop music. Or was it 70s? It was 76, wasn't it?
It was 78.
78. Okay,
I was
close.
77. You're close. You're real close.
Yeah, but...
So that was an experience. And when I think, well, hey, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, some people love it. Some people, whatever, we got all kinds of movies like that. But my grandkids will be able to look at me and it's something that goes forward. So that's fine, and it makes me happy. I made a lot of friends on that movie and knew people. I knew Billy Preston before we even did the movie. He was a friend of my mother's because my mother was a disc jockey in Detroit. So she was also a disc jockey in Memphis when my dad was, he did the band first. And then he let my mother come and sing. He said he let my mother come and sing with the band. And then she did the cha-cha around the room after she sang Whatever Lola Wants. So, I will always do that song in my show to talk about the family. So,
nice.
But then he would say, she couldn't sing that well. So anyway, whatever, Dad. So she went on in radio, and Uncle Louis was with Stax, Booker T, and MGs were taking off. So you got music and radio, live composing. It was just all in the family, Nice. And at some point, a station, my mother was known as Martha Jean, the Queen.
The Queen.
And it started off as a joke, but they were calling her Princess Premium stuff because the disc jockeys all dressed up in Indian, Native American outfits, costumes. Okay. And they were a Goodwill station where at first it was an all-white station, and then Bert Ferguson and David James and Christine Spindell, another lady that you want to look into her background, because the conversation between her and Bert Ferguson after having WDIA play classical live symphonic music every afternoon, and then taking crop reports and playing some, they would play maybe some Duke Ellington or something, but everything else was Doris Day and whatever. Well, they were going broke, man. They were getting ready. They were on their way out. And so on a conversation back from a radio, how they have like like a convention.
Sure.
And so while everybody was sleeping in the back of the car, Christine, and we interviewed her. She's in her 90s now, still living. But she said, I was in the front seat. Bert Ferguson said, "You know what? I think I'm going to change the format of the radio station, and I'm gonna go to they called it race music in those days,
Sure.
Didn't let anybody hear it, but he says, I'm changing it." And she went, "Oh my God." Why was she so excited? Because Christine Spindell had a mother and two aunties were badasses. I mean, they were career women. I mean, her mother got married, but the aunts never got married. But they talking about equality and everything, women's issues. It was like, no. And the dad stood behind her, and their minds were open. And she told me the story. I've said it on a couple other podcasts, but I'm going to tell it again. She said that one day when she went to grade school, and some of the kids were teasing some of the little black kids that were coming back from school, and they were calling them pickaninnies and all this other stuff. And so she went, well, I guess so she did it. Well, her father heard that, and he yanked her ass.
Yeah, right. No, that's fine. So my dad would have done.
Yanked her ass on that. He said, you come, and he took her in, and he said, my dad looked down at me and put his finger in my face, and he said, listen, you are not to ever do that or say, I don't want to hear you say any of these people have it hard enough than you out there, and I don't want to hear it anymore. And the auntie stood behind. And so when it was time to change the format, she was a grown person, having grown up with that in her family, you know, and stole her from another company because she was good with finances and stuff. And so when Bert Ferguson decided that it was going to be, they were going to change the format to then they didn't say African American in those days, colored. Right. I'm sure they said color. Sure. And she went, oh, this is exciting. So there's a book called Wheelin' on Beale that you can read. One of the engineers that used to be at WDIA wrote the book talking about how it all got started.
Nice.
And then Rufus Thomas, who was a recording artist, he came on as a DJ. And then Christine said, then one day this guy came in because he had heard that we were trying to change the format, you know, in the Black community, in that church community, that info comes fast, baby. Yeah. You know, so in comes this guy with this guitar in from the rain, and they said, what is your name? And he said, well, my name is BB. I mean, he gave his so he had his guitar, and there's a picture in Memphis Blues Again, which is a picture book by photographer Ernest Withers that has a picture of BB with his guitar as a young man. His foot is up on the amp, and that guitar is named Lucille. Yeah. And they didn't even know. They said, we didn't even know about that music. And I went, really? Blues? Well, you know, they didn't go down to Beale Street that much.
Right.
You know, so BB started playing, and they went, my God, you know, next thing you know, Nat D. Williams, who was a scholar, was on there, BB King, Rufus Thomas. And then as time went by, they added a woman, Willa Monroe, and she had a homemaker show because, you know, women had to do homemaker shows.
That's right. Yeah, right.
You know how that.
Yeah, I know how that was.
And she was a very mucho curvy woman.
Okay.
But she would get sharp head to toe, man. I mean, furs, and Miriam Anderson used to come, and of course she cooked for everybody. So when they had a contest that my mother didn't win the first time, but Christine Spindell was there when my mother was in line to audition for the new woman that was coming on because Willa Monroe her health was failing. Mm-hmm. And she says, you know, I left after I was with Versia Starr McKinney is the one who we chose, but then her husband was a preacher and took her away. He didn't want her on radio. Well, my dad didn't want my mother on radio, but when she got the call, the men at the radio station and some of these guys, you got to understand, when you were in radio, most of these radio personalities, because they were personalities, they were also entertainers. Yes. Most of them came from, oh my God, the bands, they were comedians, vaudeville-ish, you know. Yeah. You had to have that gift of gab. And who wanted to hear a preacher at that point? Nobody wanted to do that. Who wanted to hear somebody, the next record is, you know, so they would come on and they would rhyme. So, you know, like rap is not new. Right. I mean, when we first heard Muhammad Ali say, I'm going to sting, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Well, that was rapping. I mean, that was going on most street corners in any ghetto, anywhere, all over the world, wherever they are. Anytime you're going to tell stories and make it rhyme, baby, it's not new. So when you got your DJs and they're coming up with different names, and they had given my mother this name, Princess Premium Stuff, and that was the same show, the Goodwill Review, which was a live show that they did annually to raise money for kids to get uniforms and build the baseball fields and help out people in need, because that's what they became. WDIA was Goodwill Radio. I mean, I was listening to a film, and I'll send it to you. You don't have to put it on, but a person who did Carolyn Travis did a documentary called Airplay: The Rise and Fall of the disc jockey or rock and roll. That's what it was. But it was first called, when they released it as a pilot, as the DJ Revolution. And I think they should have kept that, because it's the DJs. They were the ones who was the social media back then. I mean, my mother, I saw this film and she gave me the outtakes where my mother said, we got a call. Somebody was trying to find their husband. We found husbands. We found wives who had run off. We find out in the community. But one guy called because so his wife called and asked. He was at a party and they wanted to know if they could find his teeth. I mean, and they found him and they got the call, So it's like, and one thing that I've learned, and this is the same thing for music, and I know that we have the entrepreneurs out there, listen, if when you can come up with something that makes people's lives easier, it's like a solution to something that all of us have been having difficulty with. That's a purpose. That's a service. I know many people, I'm going to write a song and I'm going to make $1 million. Well, some people just wrote a song and never thought about making $1 million and they made it. So, when it comes from the right place, I just have to believe that, whatever you do, you're entertaining. If you're on radio, you entertain.
I try.
But that's not the only reason for it. You sell.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to sell because we got to get time, buy time, maybe not in what you're doing, because see, we got this new thing now. We can do our own thing. Praise the Lord. So, but when you're talking about, 50,000 watts and, CKLW or wherever.
There's some money in there.
You got to sell time and get the sponsors, TV and all that. But she says, okay, entertainment, sales, but you have to inform people.
You're now listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You have to educate people. And then you have to be there in what she was doing with talk radio. You have to lift people up. People need to feel better or have direction.
Yeah.
And Tracy, what you're doing, I heard Kenny's interview with you, and I heard the other one that you sent me, and it started out all lighthearted, but I'm telling you, musicians out there, we have a generation now that's forging their own way, go west, young man, young woman, whatever, in this social media, and they're figuring out how to have their own labels and everything like that.
Right.
And I just ask this of everyone that's doing well, how are you going to give back? Is a big deal, because if you take, you might be getting rich and real happy that you're finally there, and maybe that's where your fear is, that you are afraid of not having.
Right.
So, but look, in the old days, and I can name a lot of record companies, that took all the publishing of their artists and or went down on Beale Street and took the publishing of all those artists, or even stamp their name on things that was not theirs because they didn't know how to do a copyright form.
Right.
So one of the things that I did, and when I met Kenny, I showed him a copyright form, and I would put them up on our bulletin board. So when the musicians would come over, you'd be surprised how many fantastic musicians went, what's that? And that was like in the late 70s, because my mother had a radio and a record promoter come over. He said, okay, after she had Motown and Columbia, and I met with Clive Davis and everybody, because I had record deals. But when she says, okay, if that's what you want to do, sing, then I'm going to have some people come over. And she would have them come over. They'd come over because they come with flowers. Oh, Queen, you made our record a hit. Like she was like the DJ that wouldn't stick with the list. She'd go, I heard the other side, so I'm flipping it. So she made things like Neither One of Us Would Be the First to Say Goodbye for Gladys Knight and the Pips, because she liked the other side. But, in those days, they'd do a hit and the cover up, the follow-up hit would sound just like the other one, just slightly different.
Yeah.
And my mother went, nope, flip. And she did that for Barbara Streisand's Oh Holy Night Christmas album, because a lot of people were saying, we can't play that. This Jewish woman singing these Christmas songs. And she went, oh, good. Can I have it? Blink as though she would play it.
I'm going to play it twice.
I'm playing it all day long because I like it. So she became known as an artist maker and a hit maker, because she knew how to sell it. And how do you sell? Play it over and over again throughout the day. Boom, boom, put it on rotation. You can't get away. And those promotion men would be standing in line trying to get in there because they knew she could do it. And she knew that was part of, but see, one thing, if she didn't like it, if she liked you, she would try to help you. Like she helped me. Everybody would become like her children. I don't care how old they were, So when they would come over, when I say they, the promo men or the record people, and they would say, she'd say, sit down, I want you to listen to Diane sing. I was right out of college. I was teaching high school. Mm-hmm. But I was always performing on the weekend. And that's what I want to say too. Please, people, get your education. I mean, whatever it is, get some kind of certificate or something.
Right.
Be legit. Get your license,
Right.
Because people are they want to be approved that if they hire you to do the plumbing, you're not going to screw it up. So I mean, be legit.
Right.
So, and she'd say, listen to what she's doing and tell me what you think. And they would. They said, I think she's got something there. So when I finished teaching and in Battle Creek, Michigan, Battle Creek Central High School, I taught choir. I was a choreographer. I got a lot of kids doing things and then I'd perform on the weekend. So how do you stay alive in this business of music? Well, there's a long list of things that you can do other than having to have attention. Mm-hmm. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, some people just have to be on stage constantly, or they don't feel that their life is worth anything. So you're going to have to get busy finding meaning and purpose in other things. And if you want the music, there's lots of things that you can do in music. And don't go for that stuff. If you teach, it's for people who can't do it, because I can do it. I've done it. So, and the reward, and Tracy, you're going to have a lot of people calling you. They're calling you already, who will tell you what you said to them, what it meant to them, and you didn't even know who you touched. Mm-hmm. You think nobody's looking at you. You have attention. You're just not aware. You're not aware. You put your focus and your mind ahead in the light. Some people go to the dark side and then they rip everybody off. I don't know what their karma is going to be like, but this is what I'm asking those who make it in this industry.
Right.
If you're going to take all the publishing, can you just figure out a way to help these people or give it back to them after a certain period of time?
Exactly. Right.
That's, it's not, it really isn't your legacy. It's your money, but it's not, you didn't do it. Okay. I guess what they're going to say next is only the good die young, or no good thing goes unpunished. Well, right. Forget all that. I'm saying that it's time. We've gone through too hard of a time with not only the pandemic, but a whole lot of things that's happening. We got a lot of light to shed so we can come out of this darkness on every side.
Hear, hear.
You know what I'm saying, Tracy?
Yeah. Oh, I hear you 100%. And I it's funny as growing up, I didn't know a lot of the things about. So you and I come from an era of when a band could really be millionaires as a band. You know, we're talking the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Kiss and all these folks that were filling arenas. And you're like, you'll, as a teenage boy picking up your guitar for the first time, you got sparkles in your eyes. Like, I want to be Eddie Van Halen kind of thing. Right. Right. Cause those were your idols back then. But as time went on, and the stories finally came out, so many of those things were just polishing the apple, and that was some of the cause of some of the downfalls of some of these artists. Yeah. And I think it happens across the board, not just artists, right? We were talking about actors earlier, some of the kids actors. We've heard, some ugly stories of what's happened to some of the poor kids actors because they didn't have someone taking them along the path that they needed to travel, which I think was what your point was.
Well, you need somebody to tell you the truth. And see, look, as soon as everybody gets so happy to be around you, look, I like people being around me.
Right?
They're happy. I know you're, but what I'm saying is, there are people that everybody means well. Everybody wants to be happy. If you only got so much of yourself to give, and you really have to save some. You have to be careful of some of the energy that's around you. Mm-hmm.
Because you got to refill your own cup. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep refilling everyone else's cup.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't be everything to everybody, so don't even try to be, and don't be so afraid of being alone that you have to have somebody around you 24/7 to verify and confirm that you're okay. That's what friends are for,
right? It's funny you mentioned that. I was interviewing a young lady yesterday, and she made a very similar point. We're from the same era, right? We're from the era when, spanking was okay. Whatever your beliefs are that's fine. When I grew up, I got spanked if I did something wrong.
I did too.
And then, there was, you were put on restriction or you weren't allowed to see your friends, right? So I never thought about it till she mentioned it, is that all of those punishments were putting you in a place by yourself, right? Go to your room, no TV, no radio, no fun stuff, right? It's like, they made it seem like being alone was bad, right? And if you remember being in school, maybe if paddles weren't allowed, you were put in a corner by yourself, and it was almost like they were saying being alone was a bad thing. For me, being alone was okay. I was okay being alone. I could draw, I could go inside my head and create. And I think some of that has happened to us and has happened to, probably our current kids because social media is like, hey, I'm with everybody. Hey, it's a party. I have to keep performing to keep getting the likes and the video views and all that noise.
I was just going to say that. It's a discipline that is imposed upon you that you feel is so unfair when you're younger. But how many times, my mother was strict, and I remember at one point she went, nope, you're on lockdown. Well, she didn't use that word then, but I remember being in the basement, my piano and I in the basement, and my little stereo and my 45s, because when your mother or dad is in the radio industry, you get free records.
That's right.
They come in the mail. You get them before anybody gets a chance to listen to anything. I heard Severin Brown and Jackson Brown, all of them before anybody. And Roberta Flack, I heard her, and I heard Rufus. Shaka Khan. And then I got this album and this guy sitting with these two other guys with all this hippie outfit on and everything. And I listened to it and I took it to my college and I went, you got to hear this. And everybody thought I was crazy. And then I played that thing for almost a year. And finally I talked one fraternity guy, said, for your fraternity thing, you got to play Hey Joe. I knew about Jimi Hendrix before Kenny did.
That's hella funny. That's amazing.
so and I would listen to this stuff, all this different stuff, and then Roberta Flack, that her first time ever I saw you.
Oh my God, what a beautiful song, right?
She wasn't the first one to do it, but when I heard that song and that got that album, because she played piano and she was a teacher, like I was getting ready to be, I just memorized. I listened to the record and played it until I could play every song on that album, just by ear.
Right.
And now I read,
Sure.
I know Kenny was talking about read and fly shit, but I do read it very well. But anyway, so I'm playing this album, learning everything, and I go to school and go in the dorm. Our dorms were really locked down then too. All girls dorms and
I'm sure
closed at a certain time, and only so many people could come into the front area and look at TV. So I would play the piano for everyone. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just playing. So they let me play, and I would play her songs and sing them under my breath, and so that year went all through college. Then the year that I student taught at Battle Creek Central, I was in a choir and I played for the kids. They went, "Do you sing and play?" And I went, "Well, they'll sing and play something for us." So I sang, and I had already been singing First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, and our ages or our hearts and all this. And at the club, they said, who wrote that song? I said, Roberta Flack. Roberta who? They thought I wrote it. No. After a while, I kind of let them think I wrote it. But then, and when I went to the high school, there was another song that Roberta Flack, I can't even think of what it is now. And it was for an assembly, and I sang it, and everybody went out and bought the record. And that was the same year that, oh my God, the actor, oh God, the one that's up in, Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
Clint Eastwood did, what was that? Not Fatal Attraction, but...
he did the... Oh, yeah.
It was the same thing. Somebody stalking him. So what was the name of that?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank now.
Is this live?
Oh, no.
Okay, so listen. Somebody's going to write in and they're going to know the name of that movie. But... he played First Time Ever in that movie, and I went, I've been doing this song for years. I can't remember the movie. I know it was all filmed in Carmel, which is north of us. It's fabulous up there. It's just fabulous.
Some beautiful country up there.
Yeah. Didn't you used to come around here?
I did travel that way. I'm actually, my now wife is from the Bay Area. I was in Southern California, so traveling that piece of, I made that trip.
Listen, you got to go to Monterey. If you come back up here, we have to go meet up in Carmel.
Oh, absolutely! One of our favorite places to stay is just about 10 minutes inland from Monterey, and so we go up there. We haven't been there a couple of years for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah, well, it might be a few more months or another year, but when you do, we have to meet up there. We haven't been up there in a long time. And every time I go up there, I think of this movie. Okay, so one of your listeners is going to write us and tell us what the name of the movie is.
Oh, I can't think of the movie. Was it Clint Eastwood?
Yes, it was Clint Eastwood. Oh,
it was around the Dirty Harry days, wasn't it? Or was it before?
I think it was before the Dirty Harry days.
Maybe it was playing Misty for me. Anyway. Yeah,
I turned my phone off because my cousin was calling. So now I'll, anyway. So.
Play Misty for me.
Play that. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes. I remember it now. And it was before Dirty Harry days.
You're good.
I love movies, man. I love me some movies.
Oh, well, he's a jazz guy. He loves jazz. And he plays piano, too. I had no idea.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
So loop me up. What are you doing these days? What's keeping Diane busy these days? I know right now your hubby's off in Montana, and I know that they're supposed to be hitting the road pretty heavy starting in like September. So what fills your days nowadays?
Memoirs of a Daughter, which is about now see, Kenny wrote a book called It's All Green about my family and the newborn family. So he's got the timelines and everything. So we're going to kind of tweak that. But my memoirs of the daughter is about my family, how I looked at things that, do you know who Sunny Hostin is? She's on The View. She's on The View.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Okay. She's the lawyer, but just yesterday, she said, I finished my book and, it's my views of when I was growing up. And she says, I got to tell you, it was kind of hard because I had a lot of people in the family mad at me and, people, you can tell a story, but listen, sometimes you will not move to do what you need to do if everything's just honky-dory and, everything's just bright. And, sometimes things have either got to force you to do it or piss you off enough to change or confront you or challenge you to do it. And sometimes all the time, life circumstances take you to where, if you're not paying attention, life or God or the guidance or karma, whatever it is that makes you understand this, will arrive in your spirit somewhere or outside of you to show you what you're going to have to do.
To kick you in the butt, whop you upside the head, whatever it takes to get you to do what you need to do.
I don't really want to get kicked in the butt, so I'd rather just look at the signs and go, ooh, So it's
Thank
like
you.
sometimes obedience to what your gut feeling is that's just the spirit trying to tell you what to do. And sometimes we just don't have enough faith to go that way. We just either self-doubt or we're just afraid. So, but Memoirs of a Daughter will be, I see some of the stuff as quite comedic. I mean, it's all how you look at a thing. But, and also the stage show, one woman show that, and Kenny's going to be with me in this show in the band, but it's almost going to be like a mini theatrical musical in that it'll be what my experiences are, how I can, all the things I've talked to you today. I'll be able to put original music and songs my grandpa, his original things, that he taught me when I was little, and talk about the people that I met and how it molded me with the music that goes along and pushes that forward. So from coming from classical, but all the jazz, the people I've met, the jazz people I met, the jug band people I met. I met Gus Cannon when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and we just thought that he was this guy that mowed the lawn and needed help. Everyone. This guy had a jug band in Memphis, the Gus Cannon Jug Band, and he wrote a song that walk right in, sit right down.
Yes, what a great song.
He wrote that, and Peter, Paul, and Mary made a
ragtime banjo blues we're talking about here, right?
It's jug band, man.
Yeah.
When you start talking about jazz, you got to go back. You got to go and see what they were doing. I mean, through my becoming educated, I found that there was Howlin' Wolf. There was Bo Diddley.
Okay.
Do you know what a diddley bow is?
No.
Okay, well, when you didn't have any instruments, remember those guys out there with WC playing on whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, and look, musical instruments are out in nature. Rattles from rattlesnakes and did shells and whatever, it's skins and it's there for us.
Yeah.
But when you wanted that guitar sound, they would have these clapboard houses, and if you couldn't do it, you just put like that string. See, Kenny's going to get me because he's more technical at this than I am. But I saw the pictures of the young kid. They would put the strings on the side of this clapboard aluminum siding or whatever it is. Just poor folks needing it, and put it up there and just play this thing. And it was called a diddley bow. I can picture
it talking about and usually when you see it in a picture, it's the cliche, I'm going to use the phrase hillbilly, and his little guitar with maybe one or two strings over a slightly bent piece. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely.
So, it's like And look, I want to tell anybody out there, I can't play guitar because I don't have one. Get creative. You want to play music, you're going to figure out something in your house, or you're going to go to somebody. It's out there in nature. Make it. Invent something.
That's right.
Be the first
you're
one.
Right.
So that's a diddly bow. And it almost reminds me of a slide guitar. What is that? Slide guitar?
A steel guitar, they call them now.
Steel guitar.
Yeah.
On the side of the house.
Yeah.
I don't know what it sounded like, but it was a diddly bow. And I went, is that how he got his name? Bo Diddley? And then back to my mom with Princess Premium stuff. And I'm going to make this real short. She hated that. She was this little Pocahontas thing, and they called her Princess Premium stuff. And then they kept, after the show was over for the Goodwill Review, where they found that they will find your teeth and everything else. No, the concert. Oh, I can't let this go. In those days, for the Goodwill Review, it was at the Ellis Auditorium, and it was the stage was in the middle. And when all the stars would come out, Ray Charles, Solomon Burke. Solomon Burke was my daughter's godfather, by the way. You know who Solomon Burke is? Okay, educate you.
Okay.
No, but they would have the black audience on one side and the white audience on the other. What's very interesting is they're looking at each other, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. I could see that in there. Yeah.
And a huge auditorium. But the hit had to be sung on the white side of the stage. And then they would sing everything. I mean, it was really something to see.
Yeah.
And, I just thought I'd bring that up. I don't know why. But so she had Princess Premium stuff, but then they kept one. And in fact, that was the one, all the DJs were dressed as Native Americans, and with the headdress on. And Rufus Thomas had this headdress on, and then he was going to make this great surprise for the audience. And there's a picture of Rufus Thomas with this headdress on, and then this guy jumping from behind the curtain with it halfway wrapped around him, and it was Elvis. Yeah. So my mother was on that stage. I was too young to go. And she was saying, yeah, Elvis came into my, she already had the Queen in her brain. That's another thing. People celebrate, go where you're celebrated. You have to learn things where you're not so celebrated, but go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated, but get energy from where they don't tolerate you. Go, I don't know. I got energy from going, oh, is that what they're going to do? Well, let's see about that. and then just find joy. Don't get so destroyed on rejection or being alone. Be the royal person within yourself, and don't be a jerk. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Just don't be a jerk. I mean, okay. Let me get back to my mom. I'm all over the place. You may have to edit this because
that's okay. We're good. No, this is good stuff.
And then I heard from our babysitter say, "Well, yeah, Elvis came in, and he was because my mother was a very attractive woman. I kind of look like her, but Elvis was looking in the mirror, and he had his,
doing the comb, yeah,
and he go, I'm a good-looking man, aren't I? Now, I know you've never heard Elvis talk like this, but, you don't know what people are saying in other rooms behind it. So, and she said, yes, you are. I know, because I'm a good-looking woman. So that's what my mother had a lot of, And so she went back to the radio station, and they were going, Princess Premium Sauce. She went, no. You're not calling me that. I'm not going to respond to that anymore. And if you do, I'm just going to just watch you and have dead air. And we know for radio that is not a good thing.
Yeah.
So the guy said, ladies and gentlemen, Martha Jean. And she looked at him, and she went, I don't care what you do. Yeah, rhyme it. I don't care. And he went, Martha Jean, the Queen. And she went, well, that's more like it. Well, then they started calling her the country queen, being from down south and all of that. But after a while, everybody started to believe it. And she said, I call myself the queen because, if you don't have anything, I mean, think about it. We didn't have much. So people like Duke Ellington and Count Basie and, the Empress of Soul, you have to call yourself the queen of soul, Aretha Franklin. You claim it. Claim it.
Own it. That's right.
When you claim it, and when you have decided that there's something that you want to do, listen, I'm talking to myself right now too. But when you have decided that there's something, and you feel the fear, I hate to steal an ad right here, but feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes,
do it. You'll have other opportunities, but just. And I guess it's still the same thing, same old thing. One door closes, another one will open, but you got to close that one.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know why I'm getting into this today.
You're good. It's good.
I think my mother has jumped into my bones right now.
Your mom's talking to you.
Yeah. So for me, it's the one woman show. Kenny and I, we've got a lot of ideas how we're going to do this and then take it on the road. Of course, Memphis and Detroit. I got friends in New York. I got Tracy Brinkman now will come to York.
Right. You got to come to Milwaukee. Come on.
Milwaukee. Yeah. And then the other thing is, we're working on we're just about to close this deal on a documentary about my mother. It's actually a sizzle reel, but I've been approached for several things. I've been approached for her, to do Rolling Stone. So if and when it happens, I'll let you know. I don't want to just talk out in the
No, absolutely.
But these things take it takes time, and so we're just trying to make sure the deal is right, that the deal is fair, and that the legacy will hold up. And so the legacy will hold up. We want to make sure that it's presented properly.
Correct.
And cast it correctly and get it with the right fit. So,
yeah.
And so that's going on. In the meantime, I'm rocking the fiercely gray hair right now. And Sergeant Pepper was a wonderful thing, but we all move on and become much better versions of ourselves. And I will always be a teacher. As a teacher, I always entertain to get their attention. And as an entertainer, I will always teach because I can't help myself. So
nice. Yeah. That was fire right there. I will always be a teacher that entertains and always be an entertainer that teaches. It's amazing.
What's the point in not leaving something good behind? And you know what? Somebody said this to me too. If you tell somebody, if you are going to be a bearer of the truth for your friend, or you want to tell them something that will truly help them, because look, it's hard to take people's input sometimes. That's why we need Tracy Brinkman, who can tell you the positive ways to do it and get on with it already.
Oh, thank you.
You have all the steps and everything to do. But if you have a friend who's really just not rocking reality right now, or maybe there's something that you can tell them just to be better about the hairdo or the makeup or something, whatever,
right.
Where they smell, I don't know. But whenever you want to tell somebody something and it's going to leave them a little broken with the truth, even if it's a deep emotional thing, if you're going to deliver that, then you need to be the one to have the spiritual band-aid afterwards.
Yes.
To know that it's going. If you're going to tell somebody what's wrong with them, you better have something of love to tell them how to make it right, or shut your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be smacking them upside with a baseball bat unless you're going to patch the wound up. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, you know what? And if people, if you want to ask somebody a question and they're uncomfortable with your questions, then you got to figure they're shielding an agenda or something.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anybody be uncomfortable with your questions? If you want to learn and get out there, and when you are out there getting your questions answered, and don't be afraid to answer the questions. That's why the wonderful things, I have to say it again, with Dark Horse entrepreneurial advice and with Tracy and the people who are coming on, you have a resource here where you can write in, join it, and then write in and ask those questions. And if anybody ever wants to ask me a question, I'm here. For whatever it might be that I can help them with, and just have maybe the attitude or or whatever, Tracy.
Sure.
I appreciate that you asked me to come on.
No, it's been my pleasure, and I appreciate. I mean, we've been running at it here an hour already, and I want to be mindful of you. No, it's gold. And I absolutely appreciate every one of those minutes, but I do want to be mindful of your time.
Yes.
If anyone wants to reach out to Miss Diane Steinberg Lewis and follow up and, keep up with the book or the One Woman Show or anything else you got going on, is there any place we can send them to where they can keep an eye on you?
You know what? You can definitely come on Facebook and see me. Kenny's been after me for a long time, and Tracy, I'm ashamed not to be the entrepreneurial model that I should be with all of my hashtags and everything. But this is going to be set up. Just go Diane Steinberg Lewis. I have 2 pages. I've been restricted on one.
You've been a naughty girl.
Well, no, I told my daughter put a picture up of me, and I didn't like it on Mother's Day, and I was just kidding. And I went, "Oh, I'm going to kill you." So Facebook thought that I was a terrorist.
Making threats, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, and messenger me on Facebook, and then I'll send me your telephone number. I'll call you.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to figure out how to get you set up with a website. We're going to get you started on that right away.
Thanks, Tracy.
No, my pleasure. Diane, again, thanks so much for coming on and sharing some of the history that is just imbues your family and you, obviously, across time. And we're going to have to do this again in a few months and catch up with, what's going on with the book and the One Woman Show and just,
I just get so into storytelling that I've had 3 albums and I've done gospel albums, and I've also wrote the theme song for Evening at the Improv that a lot of people, so I mean, there's theater things that I've done, and well, we'll have it all available for you. There's
Absolutely.
so much to cover. I just think that there's more important things to talk about in being able to survive this industry. So,
I hear you. All right, Diane, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. God bless you. I love you. And everybody, kick ass. Oops.
Man, there you have it, my Dark Horse friends and family. Diane Steinberg Lewis dropping historical musical bombs on us. All kinds of golden nuggets in there. What thoughts resonated with you? There was so much. Of course, I'm not going to share all of them, but here are a few thoughts that I kind of hung on. Thought number 1, learning from the Alleyways. Diane was sharing the story and the history of W.C. Handy and how back in the day when he was coming up, he would go to the alleyways of Memphis and write down the music of the amazing artists that were sharing their craft. Now, he was doing this because most of them could not write or read music back in those days. In essence, if you think about it, he was preserving their artistic legacy via his pen. And I can only imagine the pure energy coming from these artists of their time and the excitement that Mr. Handy had in not only hearing this raw talent, but being able to save that talent in written form. And think about it. Imagine the impact that had on his own music career as well, right? Because in case you really didn't know how very influential he was, he became known as the father of the blues. Okay, I get it. Okay, Tracy, that's all cool and it's kind of interesting. But what does that have to do with you and your business? Well, let me tell you. To me, the lesson inside there is that there are harsh realities that need to be faced in life and in business. And these folks, they were facing those realities on a daily basis. And not even indirectly, but like all up in your face facing them. I mean, listen to the music they created, filled with the trials and the tribulations of the times that they were experiencing. Look, I'm not saying you have to live in a harsh reality, but I do want to share more in episode 241, the harsh entrepreneurial realities that you need to be aware of. Thought number 2, Become an expert in your craft. Yeah, Diane shared how she started young in her craft, taking piano lessons on that beat-up old piano from the pastor's house, then dance lessons and so on. Diane even reminded us of the one thing she reminded us that if that's the one thing that you wake up wanting to do, and it's the instrument or the tool or the craft that you go straight towards after school is over, then you're in, right? Her husband, Kenny Lee Lewis, also shared the importance, well, I should say her and her husband, Kenny Lee Lewis, shared the importance of becoming an expert in your craft. They both mentioned, as many of us in the entrepreneurial space have heard, they mentioned that 10,000 hour rule in becoming an expert. Now, if you have a natural talent, towards whatever it is that you want to become an expert at it, do not sit on your butt, right? Do not take it for granted and ride on that current talent alone. Get out there and invest in those 10,000 hours to turn that natural talent into a rock solid expertise. Because trust me, I have, and so many of us have seen those less talented folks exceed those abilities of those with a natural talent more than once. But here's the question. What do I do when I'm taking in those 10,000 hours that Diane and Tracy and Kenny all say that we need to be taking in, right? What do I do during those hours that we're all talking about? It's a valid question. I want to spend some time answering that in episode 242, Steps to Becoming an Expert at Your Craft or Business. Thought number 3, getting the input of others. Diane shared a great point about getting the input of others to improve your own expertise. In her example, she was talking about some of the musicians of today, as in now, 2021, the time of this recording. The musicians of today are using the online tools and tech to be able to do it all themselves. You know, they don't need a guitarist, they don't need a drummer or a keyboardist, etc. With the tools at their fingertips, they can, and many are, like many of us entrepreneurs are, doing it all themselves. And look, don't get it twisted. There's a time and a place for that, right? Circumstances could warrant that you have to do it all yourself. How many of us entrepreneurs are wearing all the hats? I'm wearing the marketing hat, and I'm wearing the sales hat, and I'm wearing the manager hat, right? I'm wearing the customer service hat. But at the moment you're able to, and I would even say the moment you can make yourself be able to, you should solicit the input of others. Get them involved in your music, in your movement, in your business. It's this outside set of ideas and thoughts and insights that can take what you have birthed and make it bloom and even get it to blow up. This, my friend, is a kind of social intelligence, right? Having this skill to bring in and deal with people from various backgrounds and beliefs with compassion. It's a skill that, maybe it's not just a skill. Maybe it's even an art that I think everyone should empower themselves with. Because if you think about it, it's one of those really essential ingredients of entrepreneurial success. Wow. A little Freudian slip there. It's one of those most essential ingredients of entrepreneurial success, not to mention personal happiness, right? I'm going to dig a little bit deeper in this, in the Facebook group, probably tomorrow or the next day. And we're going to chat about social intelligence, or how social intelligence can ensure your entrepreneurial success. Thought number 4, grow your toolbox. Diane shared how her father was not a fan of that rock and roll, but she was always willing to check out, just still is willing to check out whatever new music or whatever's new is going on in the artistic world. She said it was part of growing her toolbox. I have to agree with her 120% on this fact. If I can go back for a moment to my top 10 corporate career days, one of the biggest advancements, all of the biggest advancements I made in my business and my career were directly as a result of looking outside my immediate corporate arena, the corporate culture that I was in, and the influences of other businesses, models, and methods and processes, right, really had a huge impact and directly result in a lot of my leaps forward in my corporate career. And I can give a specific example that kind of comes to mind is during my Coca-Cola North America marketing days, I had the opportunity to tour Disney World, more specifically their behind the scenes logistics centers and all the equipment and processes that they have that move the products that they need around that happiest place on earth in order to serve their visitors. Now, it really had zero to do with my business, but I was able to come away with some ideas out of that I would not have had I not taken this tour. One of those ideas, if I remember correctly, was called the Golden Zone. This is where, if you imagine in a warehouse, right, all the racking systems stacked way high, where you would have the most accessed product in the quickest reach for the people that are coming to pick it. So if they're coming to walk up to pick it, it would be between their shoulders and their waist. That would be the golden zone, right? If they were coming on a forklift, it could be a little higher to pick it, but it would be in this quickest area of reach. That would be this golden zone. Now, within that golden zone, you would review items that were often picked together and place them close in proximity to one another. Now, take that one step further and let's call it a silver zone. And those are going to be those items that are often picked with items that are in the golden zone, but they're not quite picked often enough to be in that golden zone. So those would be put just above or next to the items in this golden zone. Now, I took this idea to a warehouse facility in Knoxville, Tennessee that did the bulk of our marketing material fulfillment, and I created a time study. Long story short, as a result of this new idea in this study, I was able to reduce the pick times and thus the picking costs by 24%. Now, this was affording us the ability to negotiate lower pricing with this organization while, here is the catch, improving their bottom line at the same time. Win, win, and big ass win, right? So please keep growing your toolbox. You never know just when some random thought, idea, or skill will become your most valuable asset. Actually, I even want to take this one step further and start you off with call it as Toolbox Starter Set. Later on this week in the Dark Horse Tribe Facebook group, I'm going to be giving you the 7 essential tools that you need in your entrepreneurial toolbox. And phew, this was a long one, guys. I'm sorry about that, but I couldn't chop this up, and I can't leave without sharing this last thought. Thought number 5, purpose and serving. Diane reminded us that when you come up with something that helps make other people's lives a little bit easier, maybe it even solves a problem they've been struggling with for a long time, that, my friend, is purpose. That is serving. Yeah. You want to entertain them. You want to inform and educate them, but you want to lift people up. Your prospects, your customers, your clients, heck, even your staff, if you have it, you want them to feel better after engaging with you, engaging with your product or your service, or even your marketing materials. You want them to feel better after that than they did before the engagement. And yeah, right, we want to make some money from all our efforts, but coming from a true place of service first is where this magic really begins. Give first, then trust me when I say the universe will give back to you. Then what should you do? Give back more, rinse and repeat. Don't be a taker. Be a giver. And in the end, you will not have to take because you will have so much given back to you that you will want to continue to give more and more. Whew. So much jam-packed into our time together today. And I know this is one of our longer episodes, but man, I couldn't cut any of the gems that Diane was sharing out of this episode. I couldn't do it. It just didn't feel right. All right. Now, in our next interview episode, our guest is Richard Mack. Now, Sheriff Mack is the founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA. He's also an author, a speaker, and obviously obviously a former sheriff. Richard Mack has also served in a wide variety of roles over the course of his nearly 20-year career in law enforcement, which began in the Provo Police Department in Provo, Utah. Sheriff Mack has even served a year as an undercover narcotics agent. Now, not too long ago, I published an episode on standing up for what you believe in. To me, Sheriff Mack is the epitome of this mantra. Probably why I want to make sure to bring him on. See, he took his beliefs as far as the Supreme Court in a landmark 5-4 split decision based on the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now, Mack won this case, one of the most precedent-setting states' rights cases in the history of our country. You do not want to miss this episode. And I know you want to keep getting all these valuable tips, inspirational stories from the amazing guests I'm lucky enough to be able to bring on. So please make sure you go on down there, smash that subscribe button. While you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and some kind words in the reviews. Heck, ask a question, give me some suggestions, offer some constructive criticism. I read every single one of those reviews. And of course, don't keep all this entrepreneurial GOLD all to yourself. Share the podcast with other entrepreneurs and business owners you know will get value from it. And with that, I'm going to leave you as I always do. Think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.